Shifts in demand on an aggregate supply and demand diagram. What happens when demand for goods and services changes? There might be a change in government policy, a cut in income tax which gives people more disposable income. There might be an increase in population due to an increase in immigration or a higher birth rate, which would add more consumers to the market. When you look at the graph, an increase in aggregate demand is represented by an outward movement of the aggregate demand line. So in this diagram, the shift from AD to AD1 represents an increase in the total demand for goods and services produced within an economy at a specific price level and at a particular period of time. Shifts like this occur when there are changes which affect any of the components of aggregate demand: consumer spending, government spending, investment, or the level of net exports. An important thing to remember in an aggregate supply and demand diagram is that the shape of the aggregate supply curve reflects the amount of capacity which exists in the economy. When the aggregate demand line is in the first position, AD, you can see that there is slack in the economy. At first, the supply curve is horizontal, which represents the situation in which producers are able to supply more goods without causing the price level to rise. When unemployment is high and raw materials are abundant, producers can increase production without causing price inflation. It might be as a result of government policy, or it might just be a sign of consumer confidence. People feel that the economy is going well and are more relaxed about spending money. The output increases to meet the new demand. Because there is slack in the economy, output can increase from Y to Y1 with only a small increase in the price level from P to P1. This graph shows what happens when there is an increase in demand in an economy where there is less spare capacity. In this graph, the demand line crosses the supply curve further along, indicating that there is less spare capacity in the economy. Producers will not or are not able to increase output without putting up prices substantially, and so the price level will increase from P to P1. The output increases to meet the new demand, but because there is less slack in the economy, when output increases from Y to Y1, the increase in the price level from P to P1 is much greater than in the previous diagram. Another way of saying this is to say that there is greater price inflation. When demand shifts from AD to AD1, producers reach full capacity. This is shown by AD1 crossing AS at a point where the aggregate supply curve is vertical. It may be that there is full employment in the economy and that producers are using their machinery flat out. They are using all the resources available to them. When aggregate demand shifts from AD to AD2, there is a fall in aggregate demand. The price level goes from P to P2. As there is slack in the economy, there is a small drop in the price level, but a significant drop in the total output from Y to Y2.